fire. Oh, 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 oh.
Somebody send help.
Some people like us.
Nathan.Payson's finally lost it.
It's okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 28th episode of the Fans DC Universe podcast. The only DC podcast for the fans, by the fans, and the best source for all DC Universe news and discussion on everything DCU. Joining us this week, we have the wonderful Awesome Squid.
Hi.
We have the incredible BatJamags.
Hi, I am incredible.
We have me, the phenomenal Nathan.Payson. And we have
It's okay.
TornadoSoup.
He's soupy.
Yeah, soup.
The soupy TornadoSoup. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, pop quiz time. What was that song?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Ooh, you guys all just failed your homework. It's okay.
Romance like living in a world on fire.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
clearly the Super Friends theme song, right?
Oh, yes. No, do you guys remember Doom Patrol?
I was from.
Do you
It was
remember
from
that
Danny
karaoke
Patrol,
song?
episode
Yeah.
10.
There you go.
That was one of the ones I missed with
Yeah.
Pow's watch along.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
I know exactly what episode
I have an
it's from. I
excuse.
don't remember what the song is.
I
weird
think it's called
karaoke
People
song?
Like Us. Yeah. Where he has this moment where he's embraces himself. I'm
Except
gonna
he
say-
doesn't. The whole point of the scene is that he doesn't sing it.
No, but at the end he's singing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
At the end he does, but
Yeah, it's the dream. This is what he wants, but he can't get himself to do it. So this week we are discussing. This week we have a lot on the menu. So we are discussing a new DCU show, Dark Knight.
Very exciting.
Metal, Generations, the series of one shots, and which includes the Free Comic Book Day one shot, and the Batman suit revealed sort of. DC has other solicitations, and we have more. I don't even think we're getting Harley Quinn, you guys, but we are going to do a full dive into it next week because that'll be the finale. So please watch it. That being said, we have a lot to talk about, but first, let's talk about the new comics coming out this week. Also, my phone is giving me a bunch of weird notifications right now, and I'm going crazy. Okay, but you can't hear any of them. It's fine. So we have Doom Patrol.
I hear everything.
Oh, did you hear those? No, you didn't. Doom Patrol.
No, I'm hearing my notifications though.
I heard them. Doom Patrol number 19, Detective Comics number 346, House of Mystery number 198, House of Secrets number 129, Sun Devils number 5, Superman number 20, Aquaman number 44, Batman number 63, Freedom Fighters number 2, Justice League number 16, Naomi number 1, Shazam number 2, Sideways number 12, The Wild Storm number 19, Teen Titans number 26, and Curse of the Brimstone Annual number 1. So I'm curious what you guys read this week. I'll be honest, I read one DC comic this week, which is more than I read last week. I read Pennyworth R.I.P. Wonderful comic. What'd you guys read?
Well, for some guy's reading challenge, I didn't really pay attention to who. I've been keeping track of all my reading, and so this week I have read, hang on, looking at my temporary document here, I'm up to 86 books, individual issues.
Wow.
So one or two things.
Yeah, I
mostly
started and then I
old
stopped
stuff,
keeping
though.
track. I was like, I'm gonna do it and see how much I've read. And I stopped keeping track pretty quickly. Mostly Marvel Unlimited. No comments.
Traitor!
Okay, so I really wanted to
Nathan
read
frequently commits heresy.
I know, right? So
Against the
this
great
Let's mutiny.
cult.
This week I was like, I feel really bad because I'm behind in all my DC reading. So I'm gonna do a bunch of reading, okay? And what I'm gonna do is because I'm not supposed to use my data for a day because we were over, and so any extra data point we use is 15 extra bucks. So I was like, I'm not as a family. So I was like, I'm not gonna use any data. So I'm gonna download them real quick. I have 5 minutes, and I'm gonna leave. DC Universe's downloading speed is so slow.
Oh yeah, it is.
Like Marvel, I clicked.
Yeah,
I clicked
it's pretty
five. I
painful.
clicked 5 comics in Marvel, and they were all downloaded in 20 seconds. DC Universe, I click one comic, it takes more than 5 minutes.
I wish you could
With
download
DCU
a whole series at once.
Yeah, with DCU, I feel like the first issue or two I try to download take forever, and then it actually starts picking up the pace a little.
Yes.
But only if I do them one at a time. It gets really bad if I try to click through a bunch.
Mm-hmm. And then it'll crash the app if you're going through and trying to set a queue of them. The app will crash or stop working. It's super annoying. And so I tried to do DC this month, but DC Universe's download system is just too annoying. I did, however, download Harley Quinn today, and it only took 40 minutes. I could have finished the entirety of Harley Quinn and the amount of time it took to download.
Yeah, DC Universe does not play nice with my phone, so I only use it on browser.
That's what I do too. Because anytime I try to download something on DC Universe, it won't let me read it in the download, so I can only read things that aren't downloaded. So I've just switched over to the method of, on my phone I read Marvel comics from Marvel Unlimited, and then on the computer I read DC comics, and I end up on the computer a lot more.
When I want to be on the go.
Personally, I just learned today that apparently the DCU app has been murdering my phone's battery. So.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, so even to the minimal extent I was using it, I'm done now.
Mm-hmm. So
I've always found that the app works better for me. The pages take egregiously long to load on my computer in the browser.
See, I generally just use my phone, DC Universe. I genuinely use my phone to watch the the Harley Quinn episode, when I need to be gone and I have 40 minutes to prepare. Then I can download it. But otherwise, I just use it for community to see what's going on in the community while I'm bored. But see, and that's part of the problem is I like to read comics on the go. Whoa, did you hear that burp? But I like to read comics on the go, and so I think part of my struggle and why I've read so much Marvel Unlimited is because I download the comics and go. Now, I wish I had more than 12 downloads. DC Universe is 50 billion, right?
Yeah.
But I wish I had more
I don't think I fit
downloads. But I normally don't have a problem. And often I'm back in Wi-Fi to download more by the time I get to 11 or 10. But what'd you guys read this week?
Like I said, I went through a bunch of stuff. One thing that I read that was really good was the 1992 Spectre series. That was actually, I've been in a long stretch of kind of mediocre stuff because I'm trying to go sort of chronologically, but the writing, the art, it's maybe a new favorite, among top 10-ish.
Wow. I'm going to have to add that to my list.
That's interesting.
You said ever-expanding list, which now pretty much encompasses everything on DC Universe.
I know, right? And Marvel, for me.
I have to read it all.
All of it.
Heresy.
You know what's funny? Oh my god. Back to Marvel real quick. I started reading the old SpiderMan series, the original SpiderMan. Damn, that stuff is good. The original SpiderMan comics are such a breath of fresh air, and it's so good. And you're I'm amazed that Marvel ever aged up Peter Parker, because him as a high schooler is so good. Back to DC though. BatJamags, you said that you were what?
They didn't really age up Peter Parker that much.
What? But they aged him up from the 1960s stuff, where he was a high schooler.
Yeah, he was
he originally aged in real time.
Yes. He graduated as a senior by issue 24.
And then they start to stifle his growth.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's been the same age for half a century or something.
Yeah, it takes him a decade to get through college, and that takes him 5 decades to get to the age of 25.
Oh.
And he's also still kind of in college.
Yes, he's kind of still. He's actually back to college now. Yeah.
Man, I've heard of taking a 5th year, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah, basically anytime they don't know what to do with them, they just put them back in college, and then
Like, literally, the current Spider-Man run
It's like a
opens
metaphor
with
for
Peter
life.
losing all his academic
I
credibility.
don't know what I'm doing with my life, so I might as well go back to college.
It's like with what DC always wants to do with Nightwing, where they're always trying to get rid of him because they feel like he ages Batman. Marvel's afraid of aging Spider-Man, so they're constantly trying to make him seem young and hip, and sending him back to college is the best way to do that. That's why he's not married anymore, because they were worried that being married made him seem
like One More
old.
Day or whatever.
Yeah, and they couldn't have him get a divorce because that would make him seem even older.
They still can't kill Aunt May.
Oh, Joe Quesada.
They're like, Aunt May is how old now? Just saying. BatJamags, you said you were going chronologically.
Somewhere between like 50 and 100.
You mean 200?
She's died multiple times, I think.
And she has like had cancer like 12 times. It's okay.
M's got resurrected by the devil.
I wouldn't. They should just retcon a story where like some evil entity who hates like Peter Parker has been keeping Aunt May alive just so she can suffer through all these things.
Maybe she's secretly Mephisto, the devil, that brought her back.
I was about to say, that was Mephisto's plan all along.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was the deal with the devil. He got to inhabit Aunt May's body in return for Peter. I don't even know. Anyway, going back to DC, BatJamag. Is it BatJamags? BatJamags? How do you like to say it?
Okay, the pronunciation is counterintuitive, and there's a really long, convoluted story behind it, but it's actually J-Mags.
It's like about how you were like a Jedi or something, right?
Well, there we go.
That's basically it. Yes, I'm a Jedi.
Good. So, J-Mags, you said you were reading through the stuff chronologically?
Yes.
So where'd you start?
So I started with Crisis on Infinite Earths, and so like I've been cherry picking whatever series I happened to catch my attention. And for a while, I was trying to go month by month, but honestly, it's really exhausting to rotate through every single thing I'm reading, every issue. So I'm instead going like 12 issues at a time, or a full calendar year of each title.
That's what I've been. I did that like a while ago. Actually, pretty soon after the full library came to DC Universe, I went and tried to do Infinite Crisis, like the lead up to it, Infinite Crisis, and everything after Infinite Crisis monthly. It did not work out, so I just tried to do a vague chronological thing.
Yeah. Trades are really the only way to go back and like read through trade order.
My idea was to try to get a sense of what it might have been like to be reading at the time, but I'm reading more series than an actual comic reader would have been reading. So it's and it's not spaced out the same way, so it doesn't really work out the way you would think it would.
Mm-hmm. It's exactly what I was trying to do. I really like the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s of DC Comics, so I was trying to experience that again.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. I think I gave up a lot sooner than you did, though. Because you're still doing it. And I'm not.
How many of you guys read Pennyworth R.I.P. this week?
I have not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I haven't either.
What recent comics have you guys read this week? Like, did you read anything coming out this week? Unlike the local comic shop stuff.
No.
Okay.
I don't have a comic store near me, so I mean I do, but it's like older stuff
near me, but no time to actually go out to it to pick up the stuff I bought already.
What's interesting is, and you'll hate this Awesome Squid, but it very much felt like a continuation of Tom King's story without Tom King doing any of the writing.
Well, see, that might improve.
It was about like Bruce really suffering heavily from the tragedy of Pennyworth, and him sort of trying to put all his energy into fixing stuff, as he's done in.
Maybe if Tom King isn't writing it, it will actually be good.
I mean, it's a set of there's basically 5 different writers, I think, and there's a main story which is sort of the Bat family gathered around a table trying to celebrate Bat. And trying to fulfill Alfred's will. to have them all gathered around a table and like mourning and like to remember him and to have just a day without any superheroing. And and then slowly, one by one, each of the people says to Alfred, and then says the story about Alfred watches Bruce do nothing except mope and grope, yells at Bruce, fights with Bruce, and like a one-sided fight, and then Bruce just doesn't say anything, and then they walk out. And so it's just one after the other after the other. Ironically, the best of the stories is Rick Grayson's, who is the only time. Rick Grayson is like, I honestly don't know why I'm here, but I can tell that he was special to all of you guys, and I was hoping you could tell me a story about Nightwing or whoever it was. So Bruce tells a story about the like day of the anniversary of Alfred of his parents passing, and like what Dick Grayson does every year. And I thought it was very heartfelt, very pretty. And then it ends with Barbara Gordon yelling at Batman a bunch, and then, or I think it's the order. Because he's
for being a jerk, because it's Officer Down again.
Well, and it's also that, like,
no, not Officer Down.
Also, the only reason they've come together, like, Bruce is doing nothing to try to keep the family together. He's instead moping and groping and trying to put all his energy into redesigning the entirety of Gotham City. And ignoring and ostracizing like his son. Is like Damian's pissed because he's not being like he's ignoring his son.
Ignoring Damian is understandable.
Tim Drake is angry because Batman's doing the exact same thing that Tim Drake originally came to Batman to help him out with. So it's a very well written set of stories, and I think you would really enjoy it. It's not super important continuity wise. I'll say that. I think it gives you a lot of good context about what's going on right now if you're reading the current Batman.
I think DC just wants to cash in on.
It's a very good cash in. Like it's the sort. It's basically
it's like a cash in, but the writer knew what they were doing.
Yes, exactly.
They put good people on the cash in, which is
it's like Minutemen. It's like Minutemen.
But I would totally recommend reading it and checking it out. I think that's all I read this. That being said, I did also want to give a shout out to Naomi, which is on the services this week. That's a good comic. It's one of the only good Bendis comics. That's all I have to say on the comic. You should read it. Great new character. Do you guys like Naomi?
I know nothing about it.
I know nothing about it either.
I would wait till all 6 issues come out, because it will infuriate you. But, like, literally nothing. Like, the bare minimum happens in the first, like, 3 issues. And it's all, like, well-done characterization.
Like Bendis fare, then.
Yes, but it's, like...
down that plot.
But... Although the second half is all like tell, don't show, or like tell with like images. Like it's like I'm telling my story. No, I'm telling my story about you. And the first half is very like who is Naomi as a person, and it's a very great story. I would recommend holding off till the trade finishes, till all of it comes on. But you should totally check it out when you get the chance. Super fun, super great.
Okay, I'll try it.
But we have a lot. Like, it's one of the few good Bendis comics.
List, at least.
Okay. Of everything on the service?
Yes.
Okay, so wasn't it already on there?
To the list. So, the DC Universe staff will.
I want to talk about death metal and all that, but we are a DC Universe podcast, so we'll get to that later. DC announced a new show this week. Were you guys surprised, or was it just me?
I was super surprised.
Took me by surprise, but I'm kind of hyped about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read the DC Universe announcement. Okay, we are proud to announce our first original unscripted gaming miniseries, DC Universe All-Star Games. This new anthology series brings famous DC fans together to play a variety of games in the increasingly popular gaming show genre. Season 1 features a nostalgic role-playing adventure, The Breakfast League, from executive producers Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sam Witwer. DC Heroes, the famous post-crisis role-playing game, sets the stage Sorry, I lost my place. For the first season, in which Vanessa Marshall, Claire Grant, and WWE superstar Xavier Woods also joined as players. Set in the same 80s era as when the game was first published, the 5 participants roleplay as a group of high schoolers stuck in Saturday detention as they improv their way through a variety of situations familiar to fans of beloved movies from that time. They soon discover their destinies as the world's greatest superheroes. Quote, DC Heroes was the first RPG I've ever played as a kid. It was also my introduction to the DC Universe. Its heroes, and most importantly, its rich pool of villains. I had a blast making the series, and I hope you all love it as much as I do. It will be releasing weekly every Friday, starting with the season premiere on February 28th. So that basically it's the replacement to Harley Quinn. So what do you guys think?
Well, do you want to go first?
No.
Okay. So
you said that so acutely. You're like, no.
Yeah, so I was kind of lurking around on Applejack's office hours thread last night. Yes, I'm losing track of time. And she was referring to another show called Critical Role, which is a similar concept but with Dungeons and Dragons, and that's a great show. So I know this format can work, and I like the idea of having a show like this in the DC universe. So the premise sounds good. So if the actual game master and players can be entertaining, I think it can really. I think it could be really cool.
That's what I'm worried about, though, because I feel like the people they chose to play were very weird, and there's a sort of. Did any of you watch the trailer?
Yes, I saw it. It was a weird trailer. I don't know.
It feels very manufactured. Like, this guy's like, "What game do you want me to play? I've never seen this in my life."
No, that being said, I highly doubt
that
the game will be
idea you're playing this game.
I'd like to believe that it won't actually feel that scripted and forced once you watch it. But like the trailer was like the intro was very clearly like a perfectly scripted story.
I'm hoping that's just the intro that's scripted, and then like the rest of it is like the non-scripted like role playing.
Yeah, it is better when like you're looking at a group of people who actually want to be sitting down playing a game with each other and not are being paid to sit down and play a game with each other.
Not WWE star like Tyler Woods or whatever. What's the person's name again? I can't remember. They chose really weird people. I don't know why they chose who they did. Were these the only people who would agree to do it?
I don't know. I'm curious, though. I don't think they should have done the celebrity angle, honestly. But that's okay. That's just.
I agree.
Yeah, it seems like too much. Maybe better to use somewhat lesser known people and be able to do it longer form rather than having it be short and flashy.
I don't know. I think like 5, if they're like decent like sized episodes, like 1 to 2 hours, I think 5 episodes is like the perfect length for this.
Yeah,
like,
but they're supposed to be
campaign.
30 minutes though.
Oh, what? Okay, never mind. That is too short. That is far too short. I thought that they were going to be 1 to 2
episode.
hours.
Okay, so each episode will be 30 minutes. And they're cutting it down.
Episodes. It's actually, you put them all together, and that's not even enough for one decent session.
Yeah,
so that is really kind of sad.
Although my understanding is they're going to edit. It's going to be a lot of edits. And what? I'm curious. I have to see it to understand it. You know, like
why
I was thinking
Alfred there.
Like there are definitely.
You guys killed my hype.
Yeah, that was annoying. There were definitely DCU unscripted shows. I want to see much more than this.
Well, I feel like this isn't the one thing that's like good about this is it is another show, and it doesn't appear to be taking the spot or eating away at shows that are planned. So I guess another show, even if it is weird and scripted and kind of a bad idea in my opinion, it's not bad news.
I think it could be really fun. I don't.
This is one of those things where it's either going to be great or it's going to suck, and I'm not sure there's much room for middle ground.
I don't have a lot of
feel
stuff
like
to compare
there
it
is.
to
I
because
feel
I am
like
not a
it
D&D
could be
person.
like pretty dang mediocre.
Yeah. Well, does anyone else have any thoughts on this? Because I guess part of the problem is I'm not a D&D person, and so watching this type of gaming show just seems weird to me. You know,
I've watched
like, is
RPG
this
shows
really
like
the
this before.
unscripted show I wanted? You know?
Well, there will be another DCU unscripted show that's coming on.
Yes. Well, they made it very clear. They were like, this is the first of our shows, which tells me that they probably have like 4 other planned.
Oh,
One of them probably being DCU unscripted, if I had to guess.
When is Bizarre TV supposed to come out?
Unknown. Probably April. Probably August, September. Because I was thinking about this, right? This is the reason why this is important for us. Is it gives us a very good time frame for Stargirl's release date. Okay, so if Harley Quinn ends on the 21st of February, then 5 weeks from the 28th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is March 27th, which means Stargirl would start on April 3rd or April 10th, if it's a Friday show. If that makes sense.
Maybe.
So that means Stargirl's an April show.
I am much more excited for Stargirl than
Oh my god, I think everyone
DC
is.
All-Star Games or whatever.
I think part of it is this is the first content update where it feels like they're trying to create space because they have nothing to show. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's part of the frustration. Is it's been like think about Year 1, Titans into Titans into Young Justice, into Doom Patrol, into Swamp Thing, into Titans again, into Harley Quinn. Right? And now DC
at least Doom Patrol was good.
Right, this is we don't know what to do until Stargirl. And then after Stargirl, I'm almost 100% confident that it'll be Doom Patrol. Which will probably be perfectly timed with the launch of HBO.
Oh, I'm so excited for Doom Patrol Season 2.
I know. I don't want to talk about the news because we don't have a lot of time, but there were some casting announcements that seemed really interesting. One of which was another cyborg person. So I'm super curious to see how
who?
Another cyborg.
Who's playing?
So we're gonna what? It's also I honestly have to look up this information again, and I don't want to take the time to. But I just be aware there are casting announcements coming out right now. Like they just announced who's playing Dorothy. So that sort of stuff. And we'll talk about some of the casting announcements later as we get closer to Doom Patrol. And we don't have as big of a news show thing as today. So have any of you seen Birds of Prey?
No.
Yes.
I meant to see it by now, but I haven't.
Okay. Can you give me like a 5-sentence review, like a 1-paragraph review?
I'll try. I didn't do well before in these short reviews, but it's a Harley Quinn movie, and a pretty mediocre one at that. It's nothing particularly special, but it's also not egregiously offensive. It just sort of exists. I feel like fans of the New 52 Harley sort of stuff also won't be entirely satisfied, since it honestly doesn't even really lean into that craziness as much. Harley Quinn is just sort of there and annoying for the whole time.
Interesting. So I take it as
that sounds like business as usual.
Yeah. I take it as if you like Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, you'll really like it. And if you don't,
because
you won't.
It's entirely a Harley Quinn movie.
Because some people really like
the super.
Why did they have to put my favorite book's title on it?
Yeah, they should have just called it Harley Quinn or Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. The Birds of Prey are sort of half there, but they're the most shallow, one-dimensional characters ever.
Well, there's
Renee Montoya, who I am not a fan of.
Wait, she's actually in there? I wasn't aware she was even in there. Wow.
Yeah, I forgot.
Good job marketing.
And then I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. They said that Renee Montoya would be in here. I'm not a fan of this version. Renee Montoya is one of my favorite characters, and I'm not a fan of this version.
So I take it as you think we should just buy it on DVD or whatever, or watch it when it's available for rent? Okay.
It is not a must-see in theaters movie. It's not a bad movie.
Okay. I've been receiving multiple requests to watch a certain movie, and I haven't watched it for a while, but I finally saw Shazam. And I just want to
a good one.
say...
You saw that weeks ago, right?
What? Yeah, but we never talked about it on the podcast.
True.
And I just want to say I liked it, but I was honestly getting a little bored with it.
So how about that
Well,
mutiny,
that's
guys?
because you have issues and it's
Until-
not Marvel, so you're not.
Can I finish talking? Okay. So, and I got a little bored with it, but I was completely surprised.
King fan. Don't mute me again, please.
Do you want me to put you in a timeout corner? You enjoy being the host of the podcast. I have all the power.
I am going to dig out my list of why Shazam is the best, most revolutionary. I do have a list wrtten down of why Shazam is the best superhero movie ever and the most revolutionary.
I'm literally just
going
trying
to
to
mute my mic
review.
and I'll be right back in just a second.
Oh my god.
With my list.
I don't want to hear this list. So I was a little bored at the beginning. I thought it did a fun job leaning in, but I thought it'd be funnier, like Ragnarok funny. And instead I came out feeling like it was a comedy and like just not particularly special one at that. But then like when they finally started really focused, but I thought overall the villain was weak. There was a lot of problems with it. I didn't think the plot was all that strong, but I think it really worked when it came to the family drama. And I think that really shined. I just wish they gave more characters other than Darcy time to focus. Because there were definitely characters who felt very stereotypical in the family because we didn't get enough time to meet them. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It is also a shame what happened to Dr. Savannah.
Oh, I mean...
Like, not being Dr. Savannah at all.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Right?
Being a stand-in for Black Adam, basically.
Yeah, essentially. And then they're going to have actual Black Adam, so I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Yeah.
But also, like, Black Adam isn't necessarily completely a villain.
Trashing it before I get time to...
Okay, but I thought the final fight with when they finally revealed...
papers, I know I put it somewhere.
But I was genuinely baffled and surprised in just the most wonderful way when they actually went to like have all the Shazam family exist. I just wish they had leaned more heavily into the fact that like when there's two Shazams at any point or two Captain Marvels at any point, then they're like each have half as much power. Well, I wish they leaned a little more into that
because that wasn't really established.
Yeah. It was in the comics, right?
But the comics released at the same time and coming out after the movie. It's just
it was established in the 1980 comic. That's how it worked.
It?
Yeah.
It's pretty much always
I'm an
been.
idiot. Never mind.
But it wasn't established in the movie.
No,
like they didn't really have time.
They didn't really have time to develop that mechanic.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but
that
was my frustration.
If the wizard had taken time to say, "Oh, I only have this limited amount of power. I can give it all to you," but if someone else has some, then it's diminished however much.
Yeah.
You know, if
I like their interpretation. They could have said that and had it be reflected in how the fight scene plays out, but really it doesn't need to be the case for the plot to work one way or the other. So I think it was probably a good thing to cut, and maybe it can be a plot point in the sequel or whatever.
Well, I think the problem is the 7 Deadly Sins all look the exact same and are all completely boring.
Yeah. I really, really, really love the designs for them, but the colors aren't there.
Also, I couldn't tell you which one was which for literally any of them.
Well, they were so weirdly designed, but I do like how they were kind of more horrific than I was expecting. They actually look kind of threatening.
But I would have much rather them have had like different colors, like they do in the comic, right? Where like each this.
That's what I was saying.
It was like
them to have some colors, even if it was just a little bit of color.
Because instead they all felt like the exact same creature.
Flashy thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Shazam just breaks so many like traditions of the superhero movie.
True.
That it's just so good.
But so do most Marvel movies at this point.
No, they really don't.
Ragnarok?
I mean, I'm not
Black Panther.
Marvel movies are the tradition.
I'm pretty.
But like Black Panther,
DC.
Ragnarok, Infinity War, Endgame. I mean, so many of these movies are.
I mean, a little bit Infinity War because they cut the movie in half. But
no,
a lot of them are pretty
very different.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Shazam
wouldn't
followed a lot
say
of the
that
formula
breaks up the movie
too.
in half. I feel like
Like,
two
it did.
separate halves.
It did follow. We'd be lying if we said Shazam didn't follow the superhero formula.
And
it followed the
I'm
superhero
fine
formula,
with
but I did a unique spin
formula
on it.
done well.
Yes, but so
fresh-
do a lot of the Marvel movies.
I feel like a lot of the origins don't. A lot of the other movies,
No,
they've
although
sort of
a
been
lot
better,
of
but
the recent
origins
ones have been different.
Very, very cookie cutter generic, and that's coming from me, who freaking loves the MCU.
Well, I think a lot of the recent ones haven't been.
Expensive box set
I thought Captain Marvel was fairly unique. Captain Marvel was fairly unique.
The most generic.
Black.
It shouldn't have been because
I don't get Captain Marvel haters.
Was the most. Captain Marvel was one of the
Black Panther, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Here comes another fight.
Ant-Man was very different. Anyway.
Yes,
hey guys, how about Tom King's Batman?
I love Ant-Man.
Oh my god.
Tom King's Batman is a sad excuse for a superhero movie. It's one of the worst superhero movies I've ever had.
Speaking of Batman,
it doesn't even move.
Batman.
I can't even hear their voices. They're so quiet.
I think it was like a VHS tape. I tried to put it inside the player, but nothing happened.
Okay, are you done?
Can't even make a movie. Can't even make a movie.
The actors were so two-dimensional with their performances. It was like they were literally on paper. It's
oh yeah.
The special effects. It's like they were done with pencils. It's...
Okay.
The action scenes were so static.
Okay, stop. So speaking of Batman, okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 Batman announcements from comics this week. Like major Batman announcements.
It's almost like Batman's the only thing that's like selling right now.
The first one is written by a Scott Snyder. Dark Knight's Death Metal.
I am so excited.
I feel like we just had a complete tonal shift. Yeah, Dark Knight's Death Metal sounds amazing. So I'm gonna pull up the description for it while you guys talk.
You know
hello?
the best part about death metal?
What?
It's not written by Tom King.
That's a good part.
Wow.
It's a good part.
I like that part.
I am actually excited for Strange Adventures, though. Tom King can write the shorter stories well. Like Mr.
Are you
Miracle
excited
and
for
the Vision
Batcat?
No, because I don't think the way he writes the Batman Catwoman relationship,
I think
which I like, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think he writes it well. I posted that joke hour-long video on my channel. That was just a robotic bat and cat.
We talked about it, yeah.
Over and over. The complete summary of Tom King's Batman. Is Tom King going to be writing a Kite Man series or something?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
am I the only one who's gotten sick of that joke?
No.
I love it. Okay. But anyway.
Sick of it too.
Oh my god.
It was funny the first time, but when he actually tried to make Kite Man...
I love how I didn't even bring up Tom King, and you guys still gravitate towards hating it. Like
it was like maybe even funny the first 2 times. I'll give it 2 times.
Oh my god.
I mean, I liked Kite Man, hell yeah, and then I like how they reference it again, but then they made an emotional backstory inside the dumbest...
Yeah, it was really overwrought.
Oh gosh, the arc of the War of Jokes and Riddles is so bad. Like, oh no, the joke can't smile, so Riddle is Kite Man. He got shot. Oh, it's Riddler.
I love spreading chaos.
Are you done? Okay, so
let's be
so
honest.
I really didn't like how in I Am Bane was able to walk into Arkham Asylum.
Okay. Can we rein it back in for a second? Okay.
No.
Oh my god. Why do I
Honestly,
do this
if I was
podcast
a guard at Arkham, I would run away the minute I saw Bane.
Okay, congrats. I'm glad that you would do that. So, real quick, I think I have a theory that Batcat will be Black Label, and that's getting lots of rewrites in part because Tom King wants to make it really good, and because he's trying to refit it for Black Label. And I think it'll be a launch title.
Well, he also
5G.
tried to make his Batman
and
series
it will be
good.
Just stop. Okay, and it will be. No, I'm actually going crazy right now.
Okay,
stop.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Because I've been very nice and haven't muted you, but you're starting to get on my nerves. Okay, So I was thinking it might be a launch title alongside 3 Jokers for 5G. And I think that's part of why it's being delayed, as well. So Tom King can go more mature. Because part of the problem is Tom King couldn't go more mature in the Batman series because
that's not the problem it had at all.
No, but that was just one thing that Tom King I think wanted to do. Anyway, we have this much better announcement
because he's immature.
We have this much better announcement called Dark Knight's Death Metal, written by Scott Snyder. It will be the culmination of everything he's been working on, and which will be the result of a massive loss in the DC universe with the heroes, and most of the Earth will be no more. But a mysterious figure will provide Wonder Woman. But a mysterious figure provides Wonder Woman with vital information she might be able to use to rally Earth's remaining heroes to resist the Batman Who Laughs. Can the Justice League break away from the dark multiverse and defeat Perpetua? Ooh.
I'm excited.
So hasn't everything Scott Snyder's been working on built up to like 3 different things in succession so far?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Isn't that like everything he worked on built up to Metal, then it built up to No Justice, then it built up to Justice League, then it built up to Last Night on Earth. Now it's building up to
technically it's true that he is working on things in succession and they build up to each other.
Yeah. Last Night on Earth is sort of more like a sidestep. It's also happening at the same time. It doesn't feel like, I mean, it takes everything from his previous works, but it doesn't feel like, here's how
that's not necessarily like it references things from his Justice League, but it's not necessarily like the next step
from his Batman,
but
it's not really part of the main continuity. Here's how I see it. He did his work on Batman. Then he used Dark Knight's Metal to take everything he did with Batman and sort of propel it towards his Justice League run. He took it all and then set up his Justice League run. And I think Death Metal is going to be doing the exact same thing, except it's going to be taking all of his Justice League work and launching it towards his Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't be surprised if instead of it being Wonder Woman, that DC's having him set up all of 5G.
Oh no, I think it's going to set up all 5G, but I think he is going to personally use it to set up his Wonder Woman too.
But see, here's the thing. My understanding is he's done with mainline DC comics.
No.
Because he said that he's pulling this is like his last big comic for a long time with DC, and he's gonna be taking a break from his like very DC focused work right now,
honestly,
doing more creator-owned
Scott
stuff.
Snyder.
And the rumor is pulling away
that means we're finally going to be getting the Witches sequel? Come on, Scott Snyder.
The rumor is he's just going to be working on creative-owned stuff and Black Label for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if he's using this Dark Knight's Death Metal, to set up a Wonder Woman Black Label series. That will be like 3 issues, and then take a break, and then 3 issues, then take a break, then 3 issues, take a break.
Yeah, I think since he's
that style
planned on doing the Wonder Woman stuff for 5G already.
Yeah, he already wrote the one. He's written the only comic in 5G right now. Just saying.
Wonder Woman is sort of like the start of 5G too. So I think.
Oh, have we mentioned that she was the first one yet? She was the first.
Yeah.
That definitely affects something.
Yeah, that happened in Wonder Woman 750. Did
you notice how firsty she was? It was very first.
It was like she came before the second, and then
only
after the 0th.
Yeah.
Quite literally, because there is an issue like Generation 0 coming out. Oh no.
So moving on then to Generation 0. Okay.
First.
Yeah. No, I think it's really smart.
Fits that.
0 generation, Crisis in Time.
She is. Oh my god. What is happening
where
today?
Wally fuses with Dr. Manhattan.
See, normally when I'm on coffee, I'm hyper. Let's be clear. Normally when I'm on coffee, I'm hyper. Okay, but today it seems like all of you guys are taking all my coffee from me. Like I'm the sane one, and I'm on coffee right now. And I had iced vanilla latte. Thank you very much. So moving on then.
You're the sane one, but you're the one who likes Smokey's Batman.
We are. Caffeine
I will
conduits.
I will actually ban you from this podcast, right?
Oh no.
Well, there are 3 of us. We could move and start our own. It's
mutiny.
So you're gonna ban me from the
mutiny.
You're going to ban me from the podcast, sort of like how Tom King banned good writing from his Batman series.
Okay.
That was a bit of a stretch.
That was a stretch.
There are a couple good issues, even at worst. Okay.
Yeah,
I did like the dinner scene in War of Jokes and Riddles. That was a good scene.
That's like the only good part of it.
What about Cold Days? The jury comic where he's the juror.
Oh, that sucks.
Okay, I give up. So
I was gone.
Moving on to 5G.
I especially don't like how they didn't draw the jury consistently. There's some really distinct looking characters who just aren't there in other jury meetings. And it's like the artist really should have been more consistent. That's not on Tom King though.
There you go. He's been muted now. I can't do this anymore. I'll give you. You can come back in 2 minutes. So moving on to
crushing our freedom of speech.
Oh no. It's like I'm just a benevolent dictator or something. Moving on to 5G. 5G, we have Generations. So we have 6 different comics starting in May, at the beginning of May. And then we have Generation 1 in May, then Generation 2 in June, Generation 3 in July, Generation 4 in August, and Generation 5 in September. So to walk you through all of this, I wrote an article, although I can't find it right now. So I'm just going to do this. Okay, so to start off, Generation number 0 will be the free comic book day title, and it will feature an epilogue to Flash Forward, which is not a great comic, and the fact that they chose 5G to be sort of kicked off with free comic book day, and it was an epilogue to a bad comic is just weird to me. But the likely outcome is that Wally will gain Dr. Manhattan's powers and use it to help rewrite the world in his favor, or something. I don't know. I'm a little questioned.
It is 0 hour.
Awesome Squid just sent me a message. It was like, let me back in. I told you. 5 minutes. Okay.
You said 2 minutes.
Whatever. It's 5 minutes now. And then
listen to your overlord.
The next will be and then the other thing it will include is the Scott Snyder Wonder Woman story, which is 8 pages, and it's the Brave New World. So if there was any doubt that that was canon, right, to the 5G stuff, they're reprinting that story specifically, which I think is super telling. I would also not even be surprised if Generation number 0 ends with the creation of the new timeline, and then it immediately kicks off with this is what's different, and then it's that. So then there's Generations number 1, which is Age of Mysteries, which will focus on the golden age of comics, whether that's Alan Scott, Wonder Woman, and then we'll do Age of the Metahuman.
But also Jay Garrick and Jay Garrick's hat.
Yes, that's right. And then
the 2 biggest heroes.
There'll be some interesting questions answered in that comic. I'm not going to go into that now. You can look it up. Please do. Then number 2 is Age of the Metahuman, which will be the story of sort of Batman's arrival and Superman's arrival, if that makes sense. And so it'll be about the beginning of the Silver Age and some of those characters, as well as Batman and Superman. Then the third comic is Age of Crisis, which will sort of detail the story from the timeline from probably Crisis on Infinite Earths to Flashpoint. And then there's Age of Rebirth, which will be all of the last decade, New 52 and Rebirth. And then in September, we'll get Age of Tomorrow, which will probably be the base timeline going into 5G. So now that I've said all of that, Awesome Squid sent me 5 text messages. I'm going to read each of them, and then 5 for each of the minutes I'm banning him, and then I'll read them all, and then he can come back in. So he started with, let me back in, and they said, you said too. They said, I need to save my thoughts on 5G. And then she said, hello? Seriously? Okay, now I'm going to unmute him. Because I'm not that mean. Although he just sent me a message that I'm not going to read. And if he says that message, I'm actually muting him again. Hey, you're back.
My clever scheme to make you read the message didn't work.
I wasn't gonna read it. You know I wasn't. So what do you think about 5G?
You know it's true.
Oh my god. What do you think about 5G?
So I'm a bit
my
confused.
God.
5G is supposed
Okay.
to be like all the same.
What? Can you repeat that?
I thought 5G was going to be all the same timeline. Like it was going to start with Wonder Woman, then move to the next generation, then move to the next generation. So why is there like Crisis and stuff?
So this is one of the questions, right? That
Crisis on Infinite Earths didn't even happen according to Convergence.
So this is where it gets interesting, right? Because basically what they're saying is they're calling this sort of the anti-reboot. In that's one way I've heard it, which is that they're bringing everything back. So Crisis on Infinite Earths will be back. A lot of the early stuff you've been reading will be back.
So it's exactly like a reboot.
Yes, except it's an anti-reboot in the sense that rather than wipe out all the history and start afresh, they're bringing...
So like Rebirth, but more complicated.
Yes, except also more simple because they're taking 5 comics to literally explain to us what this timeline is.
Yeah, but then they're not going to listen to themselves.
And also, Rebirth did it in 1, so...
It's true.
But
then we also never knew what was actually canon in Rebirth.
Yeah. Does anyone actually understand what was canon in New 52 and Rebirth?
DC didn't understand.
No,
DC
exactly.
New 52 didn't care about anything that came before. So
ever since the very first...
But it also cared about everything that came before. Right? Like they made a really strong effort to keep some of that stuff going. Right?
Since the Silver Age, DC was canon.
Yes, so I think part of what's really important...
And then they tried to fix it with Crisis, but Hawkman is proof that they didn't know what was canon after Crisis.
And they finally fixed Hawkman. They finally fixed him.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Diddy's run, I think they kind of fixed him. I think he's also more confusing at the same time.
It's more complicated than it's ever been.
True.
It's also fantastic Hawkman stories, but they haven't fixed the characters.
I get Hawkman more than they ever got him. But that's not saying a lot, let's be honest. Now apparently he's been a Kryptonian at one point in his life. It's whatever.
Yeah, see?
So my answer is I think as we talked about, part of the problem with every single reboot is no one actually knows what's canon and what's not. Right? And a lot of times they reference events as if they're canon. And then we're like, wait, is that canon? But then this doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense.
Like how Dark Knight's Metal requires Final Crisis to have happened, even though it totally hasn't happened in the New 52.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I can actually see putting together a timeline that tries to make as many past stories canon as possible without directly contradicting itself.
That's what 0 Hour tried to do, and that was that didn't work.
But we are now in a DC that has learned from some of their lessons. Keyword being some.
No, they have not.
I said the keyword being some. Okay?
Which lessons have they learned? Because they're doing another reboot and they're trying to do a timeline again.
Well, first of all, they learned that we like our classic characters. And we think Superman should be a nice person. They realize that we think Superman should be a nice person. Not whatever the New 52 abomination was.
That's fair.
Yeah. They also somewhat learned that we've gotten tired of Green Lantern space operas. So they're dialing it back down with Morrison and Far Sector, which I think has improved the quality of the line overall. Morrison's run is hit or miss depending on who you are. You'll either love it and think it's one of the greatest comics out there, or you'll hate it. That's okay.
I haven't read it, but I really don't like Morrison.
Same.
It's an interesting read. I find each issue kind of exciting to jump into, but I'm also I have to look my advice is honestly to look up annotations, an annotation guide, because there are people who've gone through every page and pointed to every little detail. I mean, this is from here, and I think that improved my enjoyment of the series a lot.
Yeah, see, I don't like series that require external material to understand what's going on.
That being said, there's a lot of part of it is he's very good at messing with the complete obscure, and some stuff is and he's brought a lot of the alienness back to the Green Lanterns, whereas for a while it felt very human focused, and I think that's really cool too. I'm also super curious about how Far Sector is going to be, or what's going to happen with 5G and Far Sector. But I think that's the biggest strength, right, going in with 5G, is that DC is going to take their time and really say, this is the history of our timeline. Because our timeline has always been super confusing. So we're going to take the time and create a timeline that works. And then
have you seen the 0-hour timeline? That's like what they tried before.
Okay, but this is 20 years later.
Years and all the events, like, oh, you know exactly when Batman first met Catwoman, things like that. Like,
but
they went in depth, and then they just weren't able to stick with it.
So we'll see, right? I think.
Wait, out of curiosity, did Batman first meet Catwoman on the boat or the street then?
I think she met him on a plane or something. I can't remember. I actually do think that she met him on a plane in that continuity.
That's so funny. Tom King should have been like one of them, like Pennyworth to come in.
Or maybe it was the
we met on the boat. We met on. It was like one of them should be like, we met on the street. No, we met on the boat. And then Pennyworth walks in like, you guys met on a freaking plane. Stop fighting.
Yes.
And then Batman could like yell at Alfred to get out, and then he's all sad once he dies.
That the boat thing didn't happen in the New 52.
So, it was a boat.
See, but this is part of the point about the timeline being so confusing, right? And so I think one of the biggest things that they're doing with 5G right now is it doesn't start till November, right? But they've already announced a couple comics in 5G that will set it up.
But right?
We met on a boat in 2G. My phone couldn't get any reception.
So I'm hoping it goes well, right? And I have a feeling they won't be calling it 5G. They'll be calling it 5 generations or Generation
like
5 or something, right? Generation 5 or Gen 5.
Gen 5.
Right. I'm sure the internal name is just 5G because it's the fastest thing to say. Right, I guarantee it has absolutely nothing to do with the 5G stuff going on right now, right? Unless it might have been possibly slightly on their mind. They're like, oh, it'd be a great code name because no one would figure it out except like everyone's leaked it, and Bleeding Cool is yet to have a rumor denied. Just saying. But I'm excited for Generation.
The problem is they can't retell every single DC story,
no,
so
no one wants them. Yeah.
So they're going to want to say, oh no, this stuff is canon. But then writers are going to just reference whatever they want to be canon, and editorial isn't going to stop them.
Mm-hmm.
Or worse, editorial will try to stop them and get confused.
Right. So this is where I'm curious.
Frequently.
This is where I'm curious, right? Because Dan DiDio and a couple of people, Snyder, for example, has said one of the biggest struggles with going into death metal is that we haven't exactly been working as a team. We've all kind of been doing our own things, and
sounds like DC.
And part of what we want to be doing going forward is being more interconnected and trying to work more as a team to try to create a full story. And so I'm hopeful, keyword being hopeful, that DC will at least spend the next year or so trying to be extra connected and see how it goes.
I think they're going to try to spend the next year being connected, and after that it's going to just...
Because I think one of the strengths of Hickman's Dawn of X, as I think I said last week, is that each series feels grounded with the story right now. The things that are referenced within Excalibur feel like they will matter later on in the run, you know.
But it's all by Hickman, right?
Hickman.
No,
so Hickman's only right.
They can coordinate.
Hickman's,
but still, it's a smaller family of titles.
Yes, it's only 7 titles. Yeah, there's 15 titles. We're at 12 right now, and it's expanding.
Like 12 ongoing series.
Not quite. One miniseries, one shot thing, and then one series got canceled, and then 10 ongoings.
Yeah.
No, that 2 miniseries, and then an event miniseries, and then 9 ongoings. But part of
that's much easier to keep track of.
Oh, so much easier. But part of what's been nice is that each of the series feels like they matter. And they're all being very careful with each other to create a cohesive feel for the line, while also doing their own things.
But DC is so bad at that.
One matters in the other.
DC is so bad at that. Ever since they decided to ditch the family of title system, like that they used to use in like the 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
they haven't
having
been able to work
one
together.
Group editor to keep things coordinated, which seems like what is going on with the Hickman X-Men family of titles. Even
Well,
if
Hickman
is a
is
good
the
idea.
coordinator. Hickman and Jordan
Yeah.
later tag teaming the coordination.
Because
And it's
if that person is good,
really
I haven't read those X-Men books, but for example, when Denny O'Neil was group editor on the Batman books, they were all consistently really good.
Yes.
Yeah, and they all.
But they can't. I'm not sure it's feasible to. I'm not sure it's either feasible or advisable to do that line wide.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and it's not going to work. And DC's just straight up not going to even try to do it. That's not what they're going to do. That's not what they do. They don't coordinate. They have editors come in and occasionally wrap something up.
But as we talked about, like, I think this is something that Rebirth occasionally did really well, is you can say, like, once in each of the volumes, be like, this, like, reference that, like, this takes place after this, or something. Right? Like, if you can...
No, it did not do that well.
It did that occasionally.
It sort of towards the beginning.
It did it enough that I could create an early timeline, okay?
Think about how freaking messed up, like... Oh, where does Heroes in Crisis fit in? Where does, like, the freaking Years of Villains fit in?
Heroes of the Crisis actually has a fairly good fit in.
2 words, Doomsday Clock.
That's the one that's like,
what the frick? When does Event Leviathan, which happens, like, at the same time as City of Bane and the Infected and, like, Doom War?
Let's be clear. Rebirth is falling apart.
Happen?
Let's be clear. Rebirth is falling apart, but early Rebirth did a decent job of trying to keep some correlation. I think almost every
Hey, Squid, what do you think of City of Bane?
And I think part of
don't get me started. I don't want to get banned.
Okay, no, please, can we not?
I don't want.
I literally hate you guys
me for how much it sucks.
I feel like I should just mute all of you. Oh my god. See, I feel like I have to be like, oh no, don't mute. I feel like I'm being bullied and saying Tom King's Batman sucks. Like,
it does.
Like a burning passion.
Do you know who his best Batman story is? The Elmer Fudd crossover. And that's not even like sarcastic. It's like actually legit.
It's really good.
Really good. It's really fantastic.
But we gotta move on. Because we have more comics. But we gotta move on because we have more news to talk about. And we kind of barely talked about Death Metal.
Wait, first.
Yeah.
So you're saying how, like, in Rebirth it was strong, but then it fell apart?
Yes.
I don't trust that the same thing's not going to happen with G.
No, but at least
it's gonna happen.
We'll have a year. But at least we'll have a year and a half of like good stuff theoretically
before they try to reboot again.
Okay, but would you? Okay, I don't. Question: would you rather have a year and a half of really good content?
The only reason Rebirth was so good was because Jeff Johns was in charge, not anymore.
Although it's actually kind of unclear how much Jeff Johns actually had impact in. It's actually a little unclear right now how much he actually had an impact in. Because he was doing a lot of other stuff at the exact same time as Rebirth. Let's be clear.
Yeah, there's no way like Rebirth wasn't his idea. Because
Rebirth was totally his idea. The question is how much of that was because of him versus...
Trust me, Dan Dio did not choose to bring Wally back.
Yeah.
Anyway, he doesn't like him.
I'm gonna wrap up a bow on this discussion. Or
maybe somebody else doesn't like him, but somebody in editorial doesn't like him.
Somebody up there doesn't like me.
The current pitch for 5G from Dan Didio said is that
Fancy two done right.
Can I you are the most annoying podcast person to podcast with, and I love you, but you can you
I'll stop.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So what Dan Didio has said in panels, and I only know this because I do like find like people who live tweet the panels to do this research. What he said in panels is that they're working on a timeline and they're working on increasing the interconnectivity between titles. And this was after Year of the Villain had started. Okay, to be clear, and none of that stuff has happened yet. We don't know the timeline. The only reason we know any of the timeline is DC like purposely showed like a 5 seconds of like picture, like showed it up on the screen for like 10 seconds, and then like removed it, and then that was it, right? And then like, but Bleeding Cool took pictures, so we have the whole timeline. And specifically, they took pictures and used all sorts of image enhancers and everything to get what they could out of it.
Zoom in, enhance.
Yes, exactly. Zoom and enhance. But here we know some of the base timeline. The last thing I'm going to say is I really want to move on. the last thing I'm going to say is when we talk about the family of title system, I wouldn't be surprised if 5G is moving back towards that, because in the timeline itself, in the digital timeline, they show Batman, Superman family, this family, this family, this family, this family, and they have like 7 or 8 families, and then they like have the whole timeline for those families, and certain different point matter, and then you get to the present, and they still had like reference like specific events from the present for each of the families.
But like
me hope
now, they're not only
they're
divided by families; they're also divided by generations. So I don't know if like.
But you can have like an editor do all the generations, like do all of the Gen 1 content, which might be 4 comics. You can have an editor do all of the Gen 2 comic content, right? And the 3 and the 4. So
you can have like a coordinator for the each generation, and then a coordinator for each family.
Yes, and then you have like
DC's
one,
not
then you have
do that,
but then you have 3 or 4 people. Then you have 3 or 4 people who were in charge of making sure the families coordinate with each other occasionally. Right, because I don't need the families like perfectly be in sync all the time, right? Between different families, but I do want to see like the families interact so we can get a better sense of where those stories take place.
That's sort of how it happened, like
in Rebirth,
Superman. Well, back in the 90s, so
true. And back in
the death of Superman happened at the same time as Batman Nightfall, and according to both sides, they didn't know that they were planning those two things at once. But as real Batman did occasionally show up inside like the Superman title and stuff. Like there's like this moment where like Superman's like, "Hey, new Batman, do you want to help rebuild the city? Because that's what like us Justice League people do." And Azrael's just like, "No."
But that's all I'm gonna say.
What a jerk.
That's all we're gonna say on the topic. But I do continue to have hopes for 5G, and I'm very glad they're really taking the time to get the timeline straight before they begin working on other titles, because you already know at this point. You have to assume that they've already written the entire. You have to assume, right, that they've already written all of the Generations comics, right? So they've finished it. So as they're doing the creative titles, they've already have the whole script. Done, right? You have to assume that.
Don't trust them that much.
Okay. I think that they probably have them at least planned out, scripted. I don't know if they're all drawn.
No, I don't think they're all drawn. I think for a writer, they have like the writers who are preparing for 5G. Okay.
If it turns out to be good.
Here's the thing. My issue with 5G is, like, I hope it proves me wrong and turns out to be good, but the biggest thing that's bothering me is I don't really care all that much what the timeline is, so much as just that the books they are writing are good and make sense.
Yeah, true.
Yes, but they will make
and so, like, if the timeline facilitates that somehow, sure, but it feels like a lot of unnecessary setup compared to just writing the books.
But for a new reader, I think part of it is
with the reboots. I think they should just, the timeline's all messed up, but let's just stick with it and then just keep going, and eventually you'll build a strong foundation. But they keep knocking it down every.
But I will say that for a new reader, this sounds wonderful. Right? Like 5 comics that will give you the history of the DC universe.
And that's the point. They want new readers.
Right. I think
and in 5 years those 5 comics will be helpful.
We'll see. But yeah. So you know what other things I think will be bad? You know what else I think will be bad, but I hope it's really good? They're doing a comic reboot of the Batman animated series.
No, that would be good.
That's going to be written by Paul Dini. That'll be great.
Written by like
dudes who work it's just a continuation of the.
How won't that be good? Like at this point,
it could be bad.
Was anyone begging for this? Was anyone begging for this?
No, but it's a fun thing.
I guess
it's a pleasant surprise.
I mean, I'm not like on my knees begging, but like it's kind of always in the back of my mind constantly. Yeah.
We also have Green Lantern, the 80th anniversary collection. I really liked the Wonder Woman 750. I'm super curious to see what they're doing with the rest of the 80th anniversary collections, because the rumor is each of those will have a 5G teaser story.
I'm loving having
which sounds fun.
I'm loving having the 80th anniversary super spectaculars and the number 1000 to number 750s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that
all inside the long box is nice.
The difference is instead of it being like the 1 or 2 comics every year, it's now like we're doing 2 a month, like 2 or 3 a month, right?
Yeah,
and
because like suddenly this is suddenly like when all of like DC's heroes
All
started
hit
to
big
be
numbers.
invented.
1940 was a big year.
Can you guys help me? Did they do this with the 75th anniversary stuff?
No.
No.
Not
They
to my
did-
knowledge.
They
Interesting.
did release trade paperbacks. No, like they released these hardcovers, like so-and-so character, a celebration of 75 years. And they released a ton of them. Like Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern,
Okay.
Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Lex Luthor.
So this time
Joker,
they've decided to
Lois
celebrate
Lane.
them. Okay, differently. Got it.
But
So
I
you know
think
the,
part of it is
like-
Action Comics number 1000 and Detective Comics number 1000 just happened to
We're
fall
the best.
on the
Yeah.
80th anniversary of
Mhm.
Superman and Batman, and then those sold really well.
Well,
so
they
now
were
that
the
we've got-
best-selling comic of the year, right? These
Yeah.
weren't
Yeah,
even.
and so everybody
Oh, yeah,
started
so
to
they
think
weren't
they
Yeah.
were
favorites.
now that they've got all these
They
other
were
ones, well, they
$10
need to catch
comics
up.
for the best-selling of the year, right? That's insane, right?
Yeah. So now that they've got all these other characters reaching this
approaching their
milestone,
80th,
they need to
want
have something. But only Wonder Woman and Flash have
750.
milestone issues, and they're not even that big of a deal. There's a lot of series with 750 issues now.
I do
It's not
hope
like-
that if it's true that all of these, I do hope if it's true that all of these have 5G teasers,
I won't
like
be
the Wonder Woman one, then which I think they will. It makes perfect sense. But in the event that this is true, I really want them to just compile them all into one comic or like one trade, so that like people who don't want to buy $10 for each of these copies, which is a lot
I
of
want
money.
to trade.
Right.
I want to trade like an omnibus that's just all the 80th anniversary celebration.
I think that
stuff.
could be really fun. Also, moving on, Batman or Joker Killer Smile is getting an epilogue issue with Batman the Smile Killer. I don't know how to feel about that. Black Label title. Has anyone
Have you
read?
been reading it?
No.
I've been reading it.
Do you like
It's
it?
weird.
It's
It's
weird.
about this it's like this psychiatrist who's like, I know what I'll do. I'll fix the Joker. And the Joker's like, oh, you're just as insane as me. And he's like, what? And then he like goes home to his son, and his son is reading a children's book, but the children's book about an evil clown animal murdering everybody with a chainsaw. And he's like, oh, who gave that to you? And he's like, oh, you did, father. And he's like, I can't wait for these 3 months to be over, so like I don't have to treat the Joker anymore. And then like the other doctor's like, what do you mean? You've been here for 10 years. And he's like, what? And then he goes home and his family isn't there because they abandoned him like a decade ago. And he like
What?
cries. It's
Well-
not badly written. It's not badly written.
Okay,
It's
but
enjoyable,
do
but
you
it
think-
is.
Does this comic deserve an epilogue?
I don't know. I haven't read the third.
Okay, next one. Joke.
They
so-
they should make a follow up called "Kill the Robin Smile."
No.
Like the smile that Joker has when he kills a Robin.
Oh, that would be good. But like, I'm just thinking, what other permutations of this we could do?
Yeah.
Joker
Okay,
Killer Smile,
so,
Batman
moving
the
on.
Smile Killer,
Okay.
and Robin the
Batman
Robin kills
Killer.
Smile.
No,
of
see, I'm thinking you have to
Smiles.
move the name into after the call.
What about Killer of Smiles? Ooh.
That could work.
It could be about
Um,
Red Hood
also-
taking revenge or something. I don't know.
So moving on.
It's a weird story.
Some permutations
on.
relating to the Killing Joke.
Okay, moving on. DC announced some of the tie that the Joker War will be a series that will include the entire Batman family, basically, as we now have a couple different tie-ins. So, Batgirl number 47 will start with the Joker arriving at Barbara Gordon's place and saying that he wants to talk. So apparently,
Hey, this is literally just Endgame.
he said apparently it's a devastating tie-in. And then Batman Secret Files. We're getting a third one of those.
Oh
Each
boy.
of the secret files tells like something important. So this one's focused on what's going on with Deathstroke, Merlin, Cheshire, and the new threats, Mr. Teeth and Gunsmith, who we met in the beginning of Tinian's run. And then also apparently Devastation is going to reign in Gotham City as Atomic Skull is going to appear. But this seems to be
Devastation's
unrelated to
ready. Yeah,
anything
must
else.
be Wednesday.
Yeah, but it's but apparently Batman Superman is doing something completely different from everything else going on in the line. Shocker, DC doing its own thing. What? Catwoman begins its next saga, which is a 2-part story. unrelated, which is a supervillain auction or whatever. That's not a tie-in. But Detective
So, like,
Comics
Black
will have a
Mirror?
tie-in. I don't know. It's a supervillain secret auction or something.
That's like Black Mirror.
Detective Comics number 123. Detective Comics number 123 will be a tie-in to Joker War, in which the Crown Prince of Crime is revealed as the mastermind behind Two-Face's turmoil. But to what end? Batman will need all the allies he can get.
I'm
Can
glad
Batman
they saved
cure-
that mystery for us.
Can the Dark Knight cure Harvey Dent once and for all?
Straight up, no.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah, no.
I mean, he did
Probably no.
in All-Star Batman, in Scott Snyder's All-Star Batman.
Yeah,
He's done it like 3 times.
I mean,
Like, they did it back in the 40s, and then
right?
it just stuck for about a decade.
Also, Nightwing will have a Joker War tie-in, as Dick Grayson will go trying to restore his or fix his identity, and so he'll go to Barbara Gordon, but he must go to Gotham to find Batgirl, and he'll run into Joker's new henchperson, Punchline, who, unlike Harley Quinn, is who's the lover of Joker, who's like Harley Quinn, except unlike her, Punchline's deadpan black humor matches the deadly knives she uses on her victims. And for her next joke, Rick Grayson. I'm not done. Rick Grayson is the Punchline. There you go.
Well,
All right, wait,
This
how long
sound-
before Punchline gets her own series? Let's just
I don't
place
know.
bets now. How long?
5G. Oh, she'll be the next Joker or something.
Ooh.
oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
I'm done. I think it'll happen. Like, she'll get a miniseries by the end of
She
next
has
year.
to.
By the end of next
And
year.
no one's going to want to read it, but it'll happen.
I'll read it anyways because I'm a sucker. I hate Tom King's Batman, and I bought every issue, including every single freaking tie-in.
In terms of
boy.
Bendis, I would just wanted to
I'm
talk
sorry.
about the Superman solicits, because they're weird. Supergirl is ending. I feel bad for Supergirl because the last 12 issues have all been tie-ins to stuff, and I feel like Supergirl's now had the ability to be her own title for a little while. So I'm all sad to see that ending, just as she's finally done with all the tie-ins. But it's probably for the best. That being said, what are the odds 5G has a Supergirl title?
Oh, it probably will.
Superman will
Eventually.
apparently, this is interesting. So now Superman's allies are questioning if Superman was duped by magic to reveal his identity.
Wait,
and so
what?
they'll be
Oh.
calling Dr.
Josh
Fate.
Bendis, just stop.
He can't even stick with this thing. He's maybe everyone's maybe magic was the reason he did this. So now we're gonna introduce Dr. Fate. Yay!
Well, that's not a surprise. Have you read his early stuff with Rogol Zar and everything? He's who destroyed
Yeah.
Krypton? It was Rogol
You
Zar.
act
Oh no,
like I
it
haven't
wasn't.
read
It was
all
the
the Bendis-
Guardians. Oh no,
See,
it wasn't. It was
See, I'm like what you are we're taught to Tom King's Batman, but I'm with to Bendis. I hate Bendis.
no,
with burning
because I
passion.
also hate Bendis' Superman as much as.
Okay,
so
but I'm a little like that, right? It's I read every single issue of Bendis'
you understand
stuff,
the hate,
but I don't like it. Yeah.
Okay, well, wait. There is good news. Bendis at least remembers that Superman has a weakness to magic, so that's something.
Yeah.
At least he's paying attention.
Yes.
Although Bendis
At least
also
he has
wrote-
kept track of basic continuity details.
although
He has read at least one Superman comic before.
At some
So,
point.
yeah.
Unlike Superman.
Well, I
although
will give
speaking,
this.
stop. Speaking of
Bendis'
Bendis' continuity
Superman isn't
problems,
egregiously offensive to the character. I mean, it keeps the character the same. It's just the
No,
story
it's just-
sucks.
yeah. So continuing discussion
Tom King's
about
Batman
Bendis'
changes
lack
the
of
character.
understanding about what's going on with the comics, with DC Universe as a whole. He wrote the following solicit, okay? Jonathan Kent is now an intergalactic fugitive, as the United Planets is less than thrilled by the decision to bring Superboy 1,000 years into the future to protect the past. Planet Gotham is under siege. Ultra Boy's homeworld is on the verge of all-out war, and if that weren't enough, new Legionnaire drama unfolds as Saturn Girl and Cosmic Boy throw down over whoever should take over the Legion's leadership. Plus, Brainiac 5 will reveal a secret that will make one Legionnaire quit the team. We talked about how much that was, and we asked the burning question, who is the strongest Legionnaire? This is the catch. Find out in the only book telling you about the future of the DC Universe every month. Batman Beyond, anyone?
Yeah, no, but
Nah.
it's the even further future than that.
Oh,
Bendis
yeah.
already did Batman Beyond.
Batman Beyond isn't the
first,
real future. Batman Beyond
No,
is
it
actually
isn't.
in the past, and they're
I
pretending
actually,
it's the future. They're all
wouldn't be
cosplayers.
surprised
It's
if
the twist at
like,
the end.
I wouldn't be
Oh,
surprised if
jeez.
20 years from now, we meet Terry McGinnis.
But are they
'Cause-
cosplayers because they chose to be, or was it magic?
I don't know. What I think will be interesting is Marvel's doing the same thing right now with Iron Man 2020. Because they had a comic way back when where they were like, this is a future story in the future, and it's Iron Man in the year 2020. And now we're actually at 2020. Marvel's actually like, we're going to come back and introduce those plot threads.
Well, I'm glad that they remember that.
Which is really cool. And
is Tony Stark like old? Because that doesn't make sense.
No, so Tony Stark dies and Arno takes over.
Did they do the same thing with Days of Future Past? Because Days of Future Past took place in like 2013.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, but that was written out as the main future at the end of Days of Future Past.
Right, and part of Days of Future Past is to like reverse it, right? They have like a sequel to it, and where their goal is to reverse it and change the future.
I don't know. I only read a bit of it. The
only other thing I have three more things to say about this. Okay, they're beginning a Man-Bat miniseries. Is anyone excited for this?
No.
Who's writing it?
What? I gotta look it up. I didn't know the name off the top of my head.
This oddly enough, I do not think is the first time Man-Bat has gotten it. I think it's happening.
There's no way.
He had a.
Yeah, I think he had. Oh, wait, let me look this up.
He had a 2-issue series in like the mid-70s, I think.
Okay, so for years, Kirk Langstrom has struggled. Dave Wielgus is writing
2 issues. Yeah, 1976.
Dave Wielgus.
There's a second volume, 1996.
Ooh.
3 issues. A third one.
So then this will be
2006.
4 issues.
5 issues.
Okay, so this is a 5 issue.
They skipped 4 issues.
Yeah, they skipped 4 issues.
Yeah,
it would have been so perfect if that was 4, and then we were like, ooh, so then this one's 5. That's okay. But apparently Dave Wielgus is writing it. Does anyone know who Dave Wielgus is? Because I don't.
No, I don't. But I'm upset. Man-Bat has gotten 3 miniseries, and the Riddler has still not had one.
He's got the Year of the Villain one-shot where he realizes how much he's...
Has
anybody read that?
No.
Basically, the Riddler and King Tut team up to take down Batman, and King Tut they both suck. So Riddler is there sitting inside the sarcophagus, ready to spring up on Batman, and then he's just thinks about this time with his neighbor. Actually, it's not directly stated, but it's very obviously parallel. He says it earlier in the issue where his neighbor was so scared of a fire or whatever, he built this metal box to hide in, that was fireproof.
I can't
but
confirm...
he ended up boiling alive inside of it.
So I looked up this guy who's writing Man-Bat. He's I looked at the guy who's writing Man-Bat. Apparently, he's an assistant editor at DC Comics in the Bat Group, and he works on the following titles: Batgirl, Harley Quinn, and Power Girl, Midnighter, and Black Canary. Clearly, that was a long summary ago. But he said he's an associate editor now, and apparently he's also a writer because he's writing this. But I wouldn't be surprised. It seems to me that this might be one of his first comics. It's being published.
Can I write a series not anything big, just something small like Man-Bat.
Yeah, and can I just write it because it's not going to matter in 5 months when 5G starts?
Maybe Man-Bat will be the next Batman inside 5G. Maybe all the Lucius Fox stuff or whatever is.
We're also getting Manhunters: The Secret History #1, which will follow the history of the Manhunters following the reveal of Leviathan.
Where's Leviathan. The Man-Bat secret?
I don't know.
Where's the baby Clayface secret history?
It's one of those Bendis stories that Bendis is I'm gonna have another series. Mark and Draco is writing it, who's a much more known writer. He won the Eisner. But at the same time, I'm why DC? The thing I want to note is DC. It's been 3 months since DC's announced an ongoing. Actually,
because they're saving it all up for 5G.
Exactly, but I think it's interesting that it's been that we have 0 ongoings going on right now, that new ongoings, and they've all been miniseries. It also doesn't help that
they all sold very bad.
Yes. So I think it's telling that DC at this point is the only new thing we're doing is miniseries until 5G starts, which I think
trapped in purgatory.
Yes, they're trapped in purgatory, right? It's that awkward time. Yeah, it's that awkward time where it's we're waiting on the big finales to happen, and like we can't announce a lot of the big finales yet because we're just a little too far out, and at the same time we're too far away from being able to announce the new stuff, so they're in this awkward like, what do we do? That's all I have to
we
say.
keep giving Bendis series because we like to keep him happy.
I know. I'm like, what are they paying Bendis?
Probably a lot. Bendis,
or are they paying him like nothing, and they're just giving him lots of series? Like they say Bendis makes money per series.
I think they're paying him about like the same amount you pay like a good writer for a series, but like Bendis has like a mansion.
Like I feel like
he pays
Bendis
for
like,
it by doing like all these series.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Bendis' contract is you get X amount of money per series you make.
Well, it's so like everybody.
I can make all my series.
Yeah, so he writes a ton, and then he waters down the plot so that he can actually have time to write them all, and then he submits first drafts as final drafts because that's obviously what he does.
Wait. Anyway,
I have a theory. Maybe he gets like a few $1,000s per series, but then he also gets like pieces of all the souls of the readers, which is why he has so many series, and he's going to live forever.
I guess
like
my soul is Bendis now. Yeah. So that's all the time we have for you this week. That's all the time we have for you this week. But before we go, I do want to say two things. One, The Flash seems to be winding up to its final story, just as the Batman is. If there's any doubt the 5G is happening in November or December, I think that all must have gone away at this point. Secondly, here's your weekly TV show report. News report.
It's gonna happen way before November.
What? October? No, because Death Metal doesn't end till November. Because they're taking a month break in between, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, and then a month break, then 4, 5, 6.
Oh, okay.
And it ends in November. This is going to end in September, but the generation is going to end in September. But then they'll probably have something in the middle or something. You know what they're going to do it. So anyway, here's your...
And Bendis is going to write it.
Yes, Bendis is going to write all of 5G.
Yes, he is. They're going to...
It's just going to be called the Bendis verse, man of the soul. Anyway, last but not least, here's your TV report.
B.
For the second time. News report. On Sunday, Batwoman episode 12, Take Your Choice. Supergirl episode 12, Back to the Future part 2. By the way, Supergirl episode 13 is the 100th episode of Supergirl. Just saying. And then on Monday, Black Lightning episode 14, The Book of Markovia, chapter 4, Earth Crisis. And then Harley Quinn episode 8, LODR. That's old.
What? Did they already use the subtitle Earth Crisis?
I might be mistaken about the title. Let me look it up in a second.
Book of Markovia, like Earth Crisis, was like the Crisis tie-in episode for Black Lightning.
Oh, can you find what the actual title is? Because I think I messed up.
I'll try to find it.
And then on Tuesday,
you have failed us.
The Flash episode 12, A Girl Named Sue. So I mean, Sue is finally coming. Yay! And then Legends of Tomorrow episode 4, Ahead of Her Time. You get it? Ahead of Her Time. It's dealing with Marie Antoinette. There you go. Mm-hmm. Friday, we're getting the Harley Quinn finale. Ooh. And then we're still waiting on Black Lightning update. Okay.
So while we're waiting, let's talk about Tom King's Batman.
No.
The next episode coming out on the 24th for Black Lightning is The Book of War, Chapter 1, Homecoming.
Homecoming? Okay, so they're in the final... They must be in the final arc, because it's the 16 episodes, right? And this is 14?
Well, I'm sure. I think that... I don't know how many...
There you go. And so that's all the time we have.
There's only 13 episodes, what?
No, I think there's 16.
Oh, I think they haven't announced the... So there's just
pretty sure
13. I think it's 16.
We're on episode 14, so I think it's 16. And that this is the final arc. And then we can binge the whole season, which I've watched 0 of. That's okay. But that's all the time we have this week. We are on Podbean, Google Play, SoundCloud, and YouTube. So subscribe on those services. We are not on Apple Podcasts because Android is flat out better. Remember, next week we are breaking down all of the Arrowverse.
What did you just say?
Next week we are breaking down all of the Arrowverse.
Android was better?
An apple a day will make Nathan send you to the...
Because Android probably is better objective.
There you go. At least we agree
I
on
still
something.
buy an iPhone because Do you know what else sucks?
What?
This is Superman.
We agree on two things.
But also Tom King's Batman.
Why do we even do this podcast every week? I know it will secretly diverge into just Tom King's Batman. No matter how hard I try to ignore Tom King's Batman. It's okay.
So what I
actually
didn't get was
trying
when they
really
were going
hard
to
to
Santa
plan.
Preschool.
Anyway, that's all the time we have for this week. Thank you guys so much for listening if you made it to the end. And I'm sorry about all the Tom King Batman stuff. I can't control
I'm also
it so
sorry
much.
I'm also sorry it exists.
I'm not sorry at all. I have
I
instigated chaos, and I'm proud of it.
I kind of just like sat to the side and enjoyed the chaos. So
Oh yeah. I honestly appreciate you, TornadoSoup, for being
Imagine
somewhat quiet.
TornadoSoup is just sitting in like the corner, like drinking tea or something, watching the chaos.
I can drink tea too.
He's going.